What's going on, Bengals fans? Stone Shields on hand for another edition of Chatterbox Bengals. And coming up on today's show, going to be spending some time talking about Trey Hendrickson. Also, a new report from Jordan Schultz indicating that a particular offensive lineman will be visiting with the Cincinnati Bengals tomorrow. Going to break that down. And also, Cleveland has announced who their starting quarterback will be in Week 1. That is all coming up on today's show. But before we get into that, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so already at youtube.com/chatterboxsports, your one-stop shop for the best Cincinnati sports coverage right here at the channel. Craig Sandlin and Reed Mouse will be live after the game tonight. Bengals, of course, playing on Monday Night Football in Washington against the Commanders. Obviously, last time the Bengals played the Commanders in the regular season, it was not a great feeling for the Bengals after the game, but it was an incredible game, right? Kind of Jaden Daniels coming out party. It was a shootout at Paycor Stadium, of course, at the beginning of the regular season last year. The Bengals lost, and hoping to get some more positive mojo here in this preseason game. Lots of eyes going to be on the defense. So Reed and Craig will have you covered after the game, so don't miss out. Hit that sub button, youtube.com/chatterboxsports. Okay, so typically when the Bengals play, even a preseason game, we will kind of preview the game a little bit here on the channel, but not going to be doing much of that here on today's video because there are lots of newsworthy items to discuss. We are going to start with Trey Hendrickson. Now, that news broke yesterday, the news about the Bengals potentially exploring trade options for Trey Hendrickson, and Craig Sandlin did a video that is out on the channel. Really encourage you guys to go over and check that out if you haven't done so already, but I want to give my thoughts on the situation as well. So it was reported that, okay, the Bengals are exploring, once again, trade situations perhaps with Trey Hendrickson and another football team. And really my immediate reaction to this is I don't feel any different than I did before this report, to be completely honest with you. If you remember on a show last week, I actually mentioned, hey, things have been kind of quiet here with the Trey Hendrickson stuff. It feels like only a matter of time before something else is broke. And sure enough, you have it over the weekend with the report coming out from some of the NFL Network guys. I believe it was Tom Pelissero that originally said that, okay, Cincinnati is exploring trade options. Now, it has been reported that the Bengals have turned down trades earlier in the offseason for Trey Hendrickson. Teams, of course, are hesitant to give up a first-round pick when you're talking about landing Trey Hendrickson in a deal. Why is that? Well, you don't just get Trey Hendrickson, you also get him, and then you have to pay him on top of that. And he, of course, wants top-of-the-line money as far as his position goes as it relates to the rest of the market in the National Football League. So teams are having some hesitancy when it comes with that. Now, Dianna Russini does a tremendous job covering the NFL for The Athletic. She reported today that the Bengals are looking for a first-round pick and a young defensive player. Doesn't necessarily have to be a pass rusher, but a young defensive player. And I am totally in line with the Cincinnati Bengals here when it comes to this. If you are giving up Trey Hendrickson at this point, it needs to be a first-round pick, and on top of that, you need to get a player coming back in return that can help you this football season here in 2025. Now, if the Bengals had made a move earlier before the NFL draft, maybe you don't need that type of compensation. Maybe just the first-round pick is enough, but I've got no interest trading for draft picks here at this point. I want a player that can come in and help the Cincinnati Bengals football team this season. So I totally agree with Cincinnati, what they are asking for, and if it is anything less than that, I am not budging on Trey Hendrickson because obviously we all know he is under contract. He signed that extension, and he's supposed to play for the team this year. Obviously, he wants more money. He's coming off the best year of his career. He probably also understands that, you know what, I might not be able to perform at quite that level going forward. He views this as his opportunity to get a payday, but unfortunately for him, he signed that one-year extension, and they're kind of in a state here in these negotiations where there aren't really negotiations, seemingly. Cincinnati kind of just sitting back and saying, well, you're under contract. At some point, you got to show up and do your job. So Trey Hendrickson was holding out of training camp, as we know. Then he decided after a few days that the fines were racking up a little bit on him, so he decided, you know what, I'm going to show up. And by all accounts, he's really helped Shamar Stewart, some of the younger guys there at that edge rusher spot, really help progress them along the way. He's kind of been hands-on, but obviously he has not put the pads on. He is not out on the football field getting any work in. But really, going back to my immediate reaction here after this news, I don't feel any different. I don't think Trey Hendrickson is going to be traded. I don't think there is a team out there that is going to give up as much as Cincinnati wants/needs in order for a deal to get done. And I fully expect Trey Hendrickson to be a part of this Bengals football team in 2025. Will he have a new contract with top-of-the-line money? We'll see. It doesn't really feel like things are trending in that direction. But if a guy after a couple of training camp practices decided, you know what, I'm tired of these fines, he's not going to want to get fined for missing games. He's going to want that game check coming his way. So I really find it hard to believe that Trey Hendrickson would perhaps sit out games for Cincinnati, but obviously we will find out very, very soon. Hendrickson, of course, not playing tonight in Washington, but that is the latest on the Trey Hendrickson front. Let's get to some other news, more new news here today on Monday. As we sit here in August on the 18th, ahead of the second preseason game for the Bengals on Monday Night Football, a report from Jordan Schultz, who kind of appears at this point as he's kind of the national reporter for the Cincinnati Bengals. Of course, you have a ton of guys covering, and women, of course, covering the team from a beat writer perspective, but it was Schultz that broke the news of the contracts for T. Higgins and Trey Hendrickson. I believe it was him again that broke the news of the Noah Fant signing a couple of weeks ago. But apparently Dalton Risner is going to be visiting the Cincinnati Bengals tomorrow when the team gets back to Cincinnati. Well, who is Dalton Risner? He is an interior offensive lineman. He is about to turn 30 years of age, and he has lots of experience. He was drafted by the Denver Broncos in 2019 in the second round and immediately was a starter at the left guard spot. More on that in a second. Spent the past couple of years with the Minnesota Vikings, and one of the things I like about him the most is, A, he had a really good pass blocking season last year. B, he typically is able to stay healthy. Now, last year was the kind of one blip in the radar there. He only played 10 games last year for the Minnesota Vikings, so did have some injury issues there as well. And also, he's not penalized. It's not a guy that's going to go out there and create tons of penalties, holding penalties, what have you, out there on the offensive line. That certainly is a positive sign. His PFF overall grade last year was 67 in 10 games played, so that is not great. But the pass blocking grade, 76.2, that is pretty solid, especially at this time of the year where it's, August 18th. He doesn't have a team, and shoot, he would immediately, I think, be the Bengals' best guard if you are able to sign him. PFF also projects that he will sign a one-year, $4.5 million deal whenever it is time for him to sign. And going back to kind of the positioning, Bengals are set on Dillon Fairchild playing that left guard spot. So a guy like Risner would be coming in to play the right guard spot. Now, most of his career has been spent at the left guard spot. You would think, for guys like us, probably watching this video, super football guys, you would think, it can't be that hard to go from the left guard spot to the right guard spot. But obviously, Cordell Volson hasn't really gotten any work at the right guard spot either. So we will see. It's not like he usually plays left guard, but if he were to come to Cincinnati, I think he would be asked to play right guard. But you have to be intrigued by this if you're the Cincinnati Bengals. You've got weak spots, right? Lucas Patrick has struggled. We'll see how he does tonight. And apart from the weak spots, you also have guys that are banged up. Cordell Volson is banged up. Cody Ford is banged up. Devin Cochran is banged up. Matt Lee is banged up. So really across your offensive line, you are pretty thin. And the Bengals are in the market certainly to add to that room. And if you can get a guy like Risner this late in the ball game, I think you got to feel really, really good if you're the Cincinnati Bengals. I want to make this very clear. I hope Cincinnati signs him, and I hope we're doing a video tomorrow kind of saying, hey, the Bengals have signed Dalton Risner, and he's your favorite to come in and be the starting right guard on this football team. So that's kind of the latest news surrounding Cincinnati at that guard spot right now. And in the game tonight, we certainly are going to have a close eye on the offensive line. Earlier on, before the preseason began, Zach Taylor kind of hinted that he was going to roll with his starters longer into this game, but it seems like he's kind of backed off on that a little bit, and Burrow and the guys probably only going to go for the first quarter, but certainly going to have a close eye on the offensive line and how they play and how they protect Joe Burrow, and also how the backups protect Jake Browning out there as well, because with all the depth issues that you have, guys that are banged up, guys that are backups are going to be asked at some point in this season, hopefully not really early, but at some point they're going to be asked to come in and protect Joe Burrow, and we'll see if these guys are going to be up for the task. Certainly going to have a close eye on the defensive side of the football as well. Lots of concerns coming out of the first game against Philadelphia, and all across that, the trenches, linebackers, secondary guys there as well. Hoping to see a lot of improvement from Al Golden's defense here in the second preseason game on Monday night. We will have our thoughts here on the channel Craig and Reed will have you after the game, then I'll have mine here on the channel tomorrow, so be on the lookout for that video as well. Now, before we get out of here, do want to mention what's going on up in Cleveland. They have named their starting quarterback for Week 1. The Bengals, of course, play the Browns in Week 1, and it is going to be Joe Flacco, and that really shouldn't surprise anybody. Doesn't surprise me, right? They have a lot of youth up there. Obviously, Shedeur Sanders, Dillon Gabriel, both guys that they drafted here in this past draft. Both guys, by the way, have been banged up. It was a hamstring for Gabriel. He made his debut a couple of days ago. Shedeur Sanders, it's now an oblique. And Kenny Pickett has been banged up as well. And it kind of felt like it was trending in this direction as Joe Flacco was going to be the starter for Cleveland in the beginning of the season. Now, how long he holds on to that job, we will see. But it's funny because in 2008, the Bengals opened against the Baltimore Ravens, and that time, back in 2008, Joe Flacco was the quarterback as well. Here we are in 2025, and he is still going to be the quarterback that the Bengals are facing in Week 1, this time with the Cleveland Browns. And it's a critical game for Cincinnati. I'm not going to go out here and say it's a must-win game in Week 1, but kind of feels like it's more trending in that direction considering all the troubles that you have had early on in the season over the past couple of years. And this is a team in Cleveland that, sure, they have a solid defense. Sure, they have solid pieces. Some people would argue they're really well coached, but you're a better football team than them. And you need to go out there and prove that in Week 1 against Joe Flacco. But that is the quarterback that you are going to be seeing that game. That'll do it for this edition of Chatterbox Bengals. I am Stone Shields. Thanks so much for tuning in. And don't forget to tune in tonight after the game. Reed Mouse, Craig Sandlin will have you covered right here on the channel. And we will have a video for you guys tomorrow. Also, make sure you give me a follow over on Twitter at StoneShields_ for all the latest Bengals news, content, rumors, you name it. It will be on my Twitter page there as well.